the war thing is bigger than everything because a lot of the other issues don't matter. What is putting America first? What does that mean? What are the results of that, rather? Not the words, but what's the results?
The Crucial Convo podcast.
You could be anywhere if you're on this channel. Thank you for tuning in.
To the Crucial Convo podcast.
All right, welcome back to the Crucial Convo podcast. You tuned in with your host, Kojo. I got my man T. Briscoe back in the building. Tony Briscoe, the Endure. How are you, my brother?
Doing great, brother. Always good to see you, man. 100%.
Man, it's same here, man. It's feelings always mutual. I appreciate you coming back on the pod, man. We got to talk about where we at right now. So let's get into this for a minute. U.S. Iran, and obviously this is not just the U.S. Iran, right? This is U.S. Iran, Israel. We are at war, in my opinion, right? In most people's opinion. Now, the Trump administration, I don't know if they've actually claimed that we are at war, but I think when you go in and you bomb and you kill the leader of any country, that's war. So I would say we're at war. I think there's a couple of things. I want to just talk to you about because so I talked about this a couple of days ago on a video, and I think that it's interesting how in America right now, I think the vast majority of people do not want any level of war, right? But we are in a different time in comparison because we're going to talk about Iraq too a little bit. And I think there's a lot of parallels to 2002, 2003, and now. Yeah. So let me say this before I let you rock. One of the things I think people have to realize is that, and I don't run away from the fact I voted for Donald Trump. I wanted to give him a chance. Yeah. And one of the things that I'm most surprised by another Middle East war, because that's something he campaigned on not doing. He criticized the Iraq war. He criticized wars in general in the Middle East, what he called endless wars. And I think right now, for people who do support him, they have an idea of this is not one of those things. And I want to understand how it's not one of those things, because I don't see how I've never seen in my lifetime where we have assassinated a leader of a country and it hasn't led to civil war, unrest in that country, and years of, even if it's not combat war, it's still years of war. You know what I'm saying? So,
yes, I do.
But what do you think about this? Because it kind of came out of nowhere. If you wasn't in the know and you weren't paying attention, for the average person, we're one day we're not at war, next day we're at war. To the average person. So what you think?
Man, I think, first of all, thank you for having me on. I don't consider myself this, military analyst or anything like that. I speak about these things from the position of being in the United States Navy. I speak in these positions in the reserves, being called up after 9/11 to do active duty for 20 months, where I served in Great Lakes on the Naval Security Force, worked as a base career counselor and the base IT person for all IT security staff. So I think what's happening is, I think it's a lot of smoking mirrors that we really can't see. It would be easy to say this is part of the cover up to take to take attention off of the Epstein files, and which some of those accusations are dangerous. I think it's a much bigger picture. I think this has been a big picture in the United States' eyes for at least since 2007. I think 2002 was the beginning of this insurgence into the Middle East to really take control. I think the Middle East is just the beginning of it. I think they're coming for Africa next.
Think so?
I do believe that. I think when we look at Libya. Well, we'll start with Iraq first, right? We can start with Afghanistan as far as I'm concerned, because I think this is when This is when real strategy start coming around the Middle East and around foreign policy. Bush's foreign policies crippled us and crippled our international stance. Trump has almost quadrupled what people feel about America right now across the world in certain aspects. But I think when we look at going into Afghanistan, I know the United States had to respond for 9/11. I don't think the way they approached it was the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about the morning of 9/11. I woke up at 5 a.m. that morning and all I saw was darkness. I kissed my wife goodbye, bro. I thought I was going to die that day. That's how much darkness I felt. She'll tell you to this day. That's how much darkness I felt when I woke up. I just was like, I said, babe, you may not see me. She's like, what's wrong? Like, babe, this may be my last day on this planet. Like I said, there is something dark in the atmosphere today. And then I get to work. And of course, 9/11 happens, right? And so I think there's still a cover up of 9/11. Tucker Carlson is getting ready to interview a congressman. Keep a lookout for it. He's getting ready to interview a former congressman who the Bush administration, when he started asking questions about 9/11, they sent the FBI to his daughter's house, ruined this guy's political life.
I know exactly who you're talking about. And Tucker Carlson did a really great series on 9/11, you know. And it's funny that you actually bring him up because I was going to bring him up too. And I won't cut you off because I'm going to bring him up later. But Tucker Carlson is a great example of somebody who used to obviously be on Fox, he's still conservative, obviously. But what's changing right now is you have a lot of people who were mainstream media. He's the poster child of that.
Absolutely.
And he did a wonderful series on 9/11 because I have been following 9/11 since it happened. And it's interesting because there was a lot of focus on, like, they had the I don't know if you remember Loose Change, the documentary Loose Change, and all the documentaries. There were a lot of documentaries that came out in that 2005, 2006 era. Around the 5-year anniversary, there was a lot of documentaries that came out, and it was called the 9/11 Truth Movement, basically. Ton of documentaries, but point being is that over time, you know, time is something that will wash away, at least temporarily. It'll wash away interest.
Yeah.
It will wash away the truth.
Yeah.
It will wash away anything where people move on with their lives. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But the truth, or the seeking of the truth, comes back eventually. And I think that, to your point, that's the parallel, even with Iraq. A lot of people forgot about Iraq. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
A lot of people forgot about Iraq. They forgot about George Bush. They forgot about the whole era. And what's going on right now, in my opinion, just the top layer of it. There's a difference because Donald Trump didn't even try to sell this war. They're not trying to sell it at all. George Bush and that whole administration at least tried to sell Iraq.
They sold it. Condoleezza Rice, my general, Colin Powell.
Sold the hell out of that thing.
Bro, they sold it. You were convinced, even after many reports, that this dude had no nuclear program, no nuclear weapons. And if he did, as soon as y'all started barking, he moved everything out. Right?
100%.
So when you look at the construct of going into Afghanistan, okay, I get it. But you still went in with no plan. Matter of fact, you sent troops into harm's way, not armored properly, faulty bulletproof vests. I mean, it was just the most horrific thing you could ever see a president do. And so I knew once we got into Afghanistan, I was telling people on the base, I'm like, y'all know we going into Iraq, right? They were like, we're not going into Iraq. You're paranoid. I said, I'm telling you, we're going to invade Iraq. This is the plan of this president, because you got to understand, it's not just the move of oil. It's the control of territory and ports and minerals and the highway that drives all of that stuff, from the Caspian Sea to the Golden Corridors to the North and South Corridor. Like, I think this thing is so much bigger than we think, bro. And I'm not sure how much BRICS plays its role in this entire thing that has caused the EU and the United States to really support anything that Israel wants to do. But I think all of this is playing a role in it, where if the US dollar, if there's a plan to diminish it, and I think this is what Obama kind of started when he went after Libya, man. I mean, even the way Now the United States didn't take out Libya. They put
Right.
forces in place to take
Right.
out Libya, right? And so
Well,
go ahead.
yes. No. No, I don't want to cut you. I'm just right there with Libya. I'm
Mhm.
glad you bring that up because you got to parallel all these things to right now because you're right. Now, I personally think that what's going on with Iran right now,
Mhm.
with Iran, it's more similar to Iraq than Libya. But
Agreed.
I feel like the administration is trying to act like this is like a Libya thing, right? Because after they took out the Ayatollah and the top brass of Iran, obviously Donald Trump is saying that listen, we're opening the door for you, Iranians. You need to come forth and take control of your country. And this was kind of the same playbook that happened in Libya because when they killed Muammar Gaddafi, they were like, you know what, we're basically helping you. We're helping to do what you all already wanted. Now, this isn't to me, it's not really a question of right or wrong.
Mhm.
Anybody can make their case because yes, you do have internal strife within Iran.
Yeah.
So we're not going to pretend like it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
The question is, why are we there?
That's
Why is America there?
that's the big question, right? You can't criticize Iran of what they're doing to their well, let me correct that. You can criticize them for how they're treating their protesters, but not while you have ICE agents kidnapping and arresting United States citizens, taking them out of their homes in 40-degree, 30-degree weather, arresting them to lock them up, verify if they're a citizen, and then release them of their own. Just release them. You got a guy who was had some issues who just died, froze to death, who they had taken. So it's like you're criticizing other parts of the world. And, you can always find an Iranian American or an Afghani American who was so glad about Afghanistan. You could find somebody from Iraq who was just like, yes, Saddam was a bad man. Yeah, he was
Yeah,
a bad man. But
yeah.
when you see why he led with an iron fist, it's because as soon as the United States got out of there, the Sunnis and the Shiites went to war.
Well,
Saddam Hussein had all that stuff checked. If you two clowns step out of order, I'm gonna handle business with y'all.
you know what? You know what's great about what you said too is that that's the point. We can do whataboutisms all day.
Yeah.
We can always make parallels, and there's always internal strife within any country.
Period.
So so I think that, but what's interesting about that is when war starts, this is the distraction. We argue about whether that regime is good or bad. And I'm glad you said that because we did that with Iraq. How bad was Saddam Hussein? Was he good or bad? How bad was Muammar Gaddafi? I've heard great things. I heard horrible things, and I'm sure they're both true.
Yeah.
But the question is, what happens when you topple a leader without a plan? And that's what is interesting about now with Iran, because I don't think as Americans, I don't think we really realize, many people do, but I think a lot of people don't realize that this is a bigger deal than what people realize. You can't listen to what Donald Trump is saying right now because Donald Trump is trying to minimize this, but Donald Trump has stepped into the shit now. He really stepped in now. This is the real deal. And I don't think it's something that's going to be quick and it's going to be over in a couple of weeks because Iran is so big. They have 90 million people in Iran.
And
so it's huge.
They've shown they ready too.
They have nothing to lose now. So, so the question is not about whether you're pro the Iranian government or not. I think that's a conversation for Iranian citizens, right?
Hold on. Repeat that part. No, I want you to repeat that part again.
Again, it's not about whether you are pro the Iranian government and the Ayatollah who was murdered, whether you're pro or happy or sad about that, or whether you like it or don't like it. That's unless you're an Iranian citizen, it's for them. And to that point, I was in a clubhouse room the other day, and it was mainly Iranian speaking, speaking about, some of them were currently in Iran, some of them were Iranian nationals in other places, but they were speaking about their government. Some were pro, some were against what's happening. And when you listen to the conversation, it's just like us. If we were going through that in America, it's a certain purview you have when you live in America, and you can kind of speak about whether you're happy that the government was toppled or not. That's a deeper conversation, but that's not the conversation that I think anybody outside of Iran should really be having, because that's more of, I wouldn't call it a distraction per se, but it doesn't really get to the point when you talk about America.
Yeah.
So America, and that's why I wanted to go over this, because America, when you look at our current president, one of the main things that Donald Trump ran on was reducing debt. We've had a big conversation about reducing debt and fraud and abuse. We went through. Listen, listen, man. I defended Doge, because the principle of coming in and doing Doge, the principle of getting waste, fraud, and abuse out in any form or fashion, at principle is a good thing. You should have a fiscally responsible country. That makes perfect sense. However, I don't have a problem criticizing a person I voted for to say, okay, I gave him a chance based on things he wanted to do.
Absolutely.
Now, this is the biggest thing you can't do. You can't do war. War, you can never have. You can't reduce debt when you have war. You know what I'm saying? So
he has escalated everything I said he was going to do. He's doing it at a faster timetable, right? He's doing it at a faster timetable. I didn't think he was going to do this until towards the third year of his term, like almost like his lame duck year, right? I didn't think he was going to do this until like right at the end, right before elections, maybe 10, 12 months before the elections, he would do this, because he honestly believes that if we're in the middle of a war, these are words out of his mouth. I'm not making this stuff up. He honestly believes that if you're in the middle of a war, you have to cancel national elections.
Mm-hmm.
It's his long-term power play to stay in power. It's unfortunate that he has enough backing from all of these people who are actually suffering under his administration. Things have not gotten cheaper.
No, they haven't gotten cheaper, and actually everything is getting worse, and it's going to get worse.
Yes.
It's just going to get worse because it has to. I've never heard of or lived through a time where you're putting expenditures on war and things get cheaper. And here's the other thing too, people have to realize that part of the world, the crude oil, that's where China gets all of their crude oil from. China gets their oil from Iran, that area, right? So that area is a very important place. And Iran is so much different than Iraq, right? In the sense that Iran doesn't have anything to lose. Iran is not trying to beat the U.S.
Nope.
in this war militarily. They cannot. And again, we haven't even talked about Israel, right? So Israel, they're really fighting Israel, and basically we're fighting for them, right?
Absolutely.
But
like fighting for
they're not going to win militarily.
Vietnam, right?
You know what I'm saying? They're not going to win militarily. So at the end of the day, even they had a interview with Iran's foreign minister the other day, and I think it was NBC or whatever. They were asking him, like, listen, do you fear a ground invasion? He said, no, we welcome it. We can't wait. And it's not because they think they're going to win. I think Iran is going to tear up as much as they can. They're going to destroy as much as they can in that region to hurt America economically. So at the end of the day, that's what we're living through. And that's the point, is that we can't get around the economic pain that's going to happen. And I'm not saying that's the only thing that matters. Lives matter too, but the whole world is going to be affected by this.
Let me say this. We would not beat Iran in a ground war, because it's not about weaponry. It's about mindset. Right?
Wait, you said we would not be that way?
We would not beat Iran in a ground war, because it's not about weaponry. It's about mindset.
Oh, right.
And what I mean by that is, in World War II, in Vietnam, in Afghanistan, in Iraq, what we saw was a mindset of kamikaze.
Right.
You never beat an enemy who's not afraid to die. So the question is, did we take out the supreme leader, the Ayatollah, or did he lay his life down because he doesn't fear death? I think those are the essential questions that really need to be delved into. At the end of the day, we are putting U.S. troops in harm's way for absolutely no reason outside of a maniac who's running in the White House. And that's just straight up real talk. This dude is unhinged. He's a liar. And I knew this from the beginning when he was running, and I knew it now. This guy cannot be trusted. Doge didn't even save a fraction of the money that Doge was set out to resolve. We have given more money to Argentina. He's just set aside $10 billion for this peace group that he has created with Tony Blair and some other folks. And this like American money is just being poured out. But guess who's not getting that American money? The American people. But because people are so caught up in this moment of being straight, I mean, I can't even have conversations with people about this dude and this administration. And that's my issue with them. It's not that Democrats are not perfect. The problem is Democrats will own their stuff. Democrats can always talk both sides. This side of MAGA, I don't even know if I want to call these folks Republican, bro. Like,
I was going to say,
you can't even. I don't, yeah, go ahead.
No. I don't. It's a good point because I don't know. I'm thinking the same thing too. Again, I voted Democrat all my life until voting for Donald Trump, but it wasn't about voting Republican per se. But to your point, it really has become very cultish politically in this country, right? People have become very cultish. Going back to, the Iraq War in that time period, right? I was a different person back then. I wasn't super political, but I don't remember Republicans and Democrats. It wasn't cultish like it is now. And I think a lot of it is because of social media. So people feel like, particularly people who voted for Donald Trump, there are people who identify as conservatives because they feel like they're conservatives. So they feel that I gotta agree with everything that this man does. That's not what it's about. What it's about is to say, you identify your policies or your not policies, but your I don't know why I'm at a loss for words, but your beliefs. Maybe they align more with something that's more conservative, more liberal, whatever. Or you just vote for whoever you think is the best at that time, right? Fine. But it doesn't take away common sense, right? It shouldn't take away common sense.
You would think.
So if you said, okay, you know what? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and vote for this person. I don't know when that became where I can't criticize. I have to agree with everything that person does. And this Iran war is crazy to your point when you can't have conversations. I see people automatically trying to defend the Iran war. And, I've seen people talk about, we need to go after Iran to avenge the barracks bombing from 1983 in Beirut. And I'm like, bruh, not that wasn't a real thing, but that's not what this is about. They're not avenging the UX barracks bombing in Beirut, Lebanon in 1983 that happened. This is not why we're there. Like, you're confused. They're not avenging that.
It's not, and we're not avenging Israel for their bombing of the USS Liberty at all. Like, them dudes killed American soldiers, bro, to drag us into a war, and they get a freaking pass to this day, bro. Like, that's the insanity stuff that drives me crazy. But you're absolutely right. It's like, this dude could do no wrong. And my view of America is like family. If I got a family member who's in prison for murder, bro, right now. I'm not mad at my whole family because I got a family member who committed murder. I'm not happy he committed murder either.
Correct.
But so I can talk to my family when we out of order and we do heinous things, and I can compliment my family when we do great things and that we're on the right side of history. Absolutely. America should be America. I live here. This is my family. Half of these folks who out here talking crazy ain't never put a uniform on.
Yeah.
Come on, go kill this, go kill that, go bomb this, go bomb that. This dude has, I heard, I will have to verify, I heard this dude has surpassed Obama in drone strikes. This administration.
I heard that too. I heard that too.
I need to get the data on that because that would seem kind of hard to me, honestly. Like
I just heard that too the other day.
Yeah. So we'll find out if it's smoke screens and just people just throwing things up there in the air. But I would not be surprised. Like when you have an administration that is using Call of Duty footage to show for dude, the gaming community on Twitter, on X has been going bananas. They've been going bananas. This is the kind of administration that we're dealing with. And if we want to talk about DEI, run down everybody this dude has put in place. From his first Supreme Court person he put in place, I can't think of her name right now. Was it Amy Barrett? I can't think of her name. But from her, look at the qualifications of everybody he's put in place.
Well, you know what? To that point, I think that that's why I say that, I gave him and whoever he chose a chance
absolutely
to do right.
Yeah.
To do something that makes sense. Right. So we had the pillars. We had the pillars of fiscal responsibility, reducing the national debt, not getting any long-term wars. Remember, he was supposed to be the whole peacekeeper to settle. I'm settling all these disputes, Russia and Ukraine. I'm settling all these things. I'm going around. We're settling everything. And this is what we're going to do. In principle, great. But it has become cultish to a point now where people are like, yeah, and you're right. There are a lot of people who are making comments who never put on a uniform, who sure as hell are not going to send their kids anywhere to go and die, and sure will not put a uniform on themselves to go and die anywhere. So war is the biggest deal of them all, in my opinion. In the political landscape of what we're talking about, when you're talking about the economy and everything else, war is bigger than all of it, because theoretically, if we're talking about weapons, nuclear weapons, blowing up, killing, all of that trumps, for lack of a better word, it trumps.
Supersedes.
There we go. Supersedes. It supersedes everything. Yeah. Right. It doesn't matter if none of the stuff matters. Jobs. There is no job. What jobs? You trying to survive. We live in America where the battles are not fought on our land. We're not used to it. Yeah. Right. But imagine that, where you have communities decimated and you got people just trying to figure out if your family has survived, right? And you got to start from zero.
Bro, like let's take off the table killing the Ayatollah and killing leadership. We dropped a bomb on a school. Right. We killed approximately 158 girls. Dude, we killed babies. You know what a response from my family member was on my Facebook page? Casualties of war. We got kids who are being shot in Chicago every day. Come on, bro. Yeah. I saw that.
And that's the whataboutism. Everybody's doing the whataboutism because, but I think that's because people are not willing to have real conversations, because it's like a lazy way of thinking. It's like, you know what?
Extremely.
I already agree with what they're doing. I don't want to see anything else, right? People like that haven't even thought about, well, why are we actually over there? Now, let's talk about what imminent threat, because here's the thing. At least with the Bush administration, they sold the Iraq war based on an imminent threat. Yeah. There's going to be a mushroom cloud if we don't do anything, right? We need to stop these weapons of mass destruction, nuclear weapons. Now, initially, the administration, as far as Iran, they didn't articulate what the threat was, right? So Trump comes out and says, if we were in negotiations, but if we knew, I felt like if we didn't do anything, if we didn't strike first, they were going to strike first.
Strike who? Strike who? Strike where?
Well,
with what?
That's the great point. That's the thing. This is what he said 2 days ago. Trump said they were going to strike first if we didn't. And that's the question. Well, who were they going to strike? Because they weren't going to strike the United States. He didn't mention any particular United States interests in particular. Maybe they were going to strike Israel. I don't know. But Israel and Iran, that whole conversation, what they have going on is something that really doesn't have nothing to do with America per se, right? But again, American citizens have to take a step back and say, you know what? It doesn't matter all the details. If you're not going to get into the details and you don't want to know the details, cool.
Mhm.
What matters is the results, and the results are coming. Gas has went up 10% or 10 cents, not 10%. It's went up 10 cents in the last couple of days. Doesn't seem like a lot now, but
That's a
it's
lot,
only been,
bro. That's a lot. If
it is a lot.
if you got a V8 engine, that's a lot.
It's a lot for 1 week. We ain't even got into it yet.
We
We
have-
ain't got to $4.50 gas yet. We ain't got there yet.
Yeah. And what's this going to mean? Because apparently, what I heard on the news, Egypt is, Israel has cut off the gas line to Egypt, who they just signed a deal with. See, this the thing, bro. And I want to go back to something you really said important, because I don't know. It's like it's easy to say like this is a decision for the Iranian people, right? And I agree with that 100%. But it's also like, but if you got a 30,000 protesters getting ready to be slaughtered,
Right.
I mean, we're looking at a Tiananmen Square situation potentially over here. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Like, but
Yep.
again, when I look at these other governments and the Western stance on these things that are happening in other parts of the world, and I look at what country stood for black folks, and I don't want to look at this through a jaded lens, but when we were over here being lynched, shot down in the streets, bombs dropped on us, like what country came to our rescue to come in and say, hey, the United States is living foul. Let's go over there and do something.
Right.
What probably ticked them off is when, I can't think of what year it was, when they took those hostages and the sheik let the black people and the women go. Because he was
Yeah.
like, oh, black
Yeah.
people oppressed in America, we ain't
Yeah.
got nothing against them. See, when you have a leader like that who you consider a tyrant, but he understands the plight of people around the world at the hands of colonization and colonizers, right? That's the enemy you have to fight with. This is why in Vietnam, those were real pamphlets they dropped about black man. This is not your war.
Right.
Weren't fake. Those were not fake pamphlets, bro.
Right.
And you know what else they don't talk about? They don't talk about the race wars of Vietnam between blacks and white officers.
Mm-hmm.
It was bad. They covered up. White officers were being fragged by brothers, bro.
Mm-hmm.
They covered all that stuff up and kept it out of the news. What did they do to offset that back and forth? They pushed drugs into the soldiers,
Mm-hmm.
so they can become zombified and just go. And what they had soldiers doing in Vietnam, bruh, them cats will have ghosts for the rest of their lives until they die off.
Yeah.
We work with some brothers with a psychologist at our church, man. Them dudes their damage is irreparable for the stuff.
That was a wicked war.
Bruh,
Was a wicked
it was
one.
the things they did to women and children over there, bro. But
Yeah.
again, when you're fighting an enemy who's not afraid to die, do you ever really win against that kind of ideology? You don't.
I don't think you can, and I don't think you can. And I think that narratives are a powerful thing, man.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing that's so interesting. When you talk about not being able to talk to people about, this war, when you talk about MAGA in particular, and I never consider MAGA is like a cult, but I'm like, I think people can join their cults, figuratively speaking, as much as they want to. Do your thing. But you have to be careful, because what happens is that, see, a cult may be good for you, but it also is bad, because you end up drinking the Jim Jones Kool-Aid too, and being dead, because you following whatever's being told to you. You have to keep an objective mind, and you also have to, in my opinion, you either have to get into the details so you can have an objective point of view, or you have to go ahead and say to yourself, I got to look at the results. So the results, if you want to be ignorant and not pay attention to anything, then you can't ignore the results. I'm saying that meaning that with MAGA will have to look at the results, and this is what's going to happen. So it's going to be very hard to deny whether this is a good thing or bad thing when inflation keeps going up, when you're paying more and more and more with gas. Now, oil, people who don't understand this, oil is in everything. It's not just the octane you put in your truck
That's
or
right.
your car.
That's right.
Oil is in everything. It's in
Everything.
plastics. It's in toys. It's in
Generators. You name it. It's touching it, bruh.
you name it.
It's everywhere.
Everywhere. And what the crazy thing is that people don't realize is that China gets most of their oil from that area. The Straits of Hormuz is that where all the oil tankers go into. Now, where do we
Now
get
you're talking. Now you're talking. Now you're talking.
we get most of our stuff from China? So if there's an issue with oil and China can't get the oil, from what I understand, if they don't straighten this up, China is about 30 to 40 days from being in an oil crisis as far as what they consume. So we are economically intertwined with China. So for all the dumbasses who don't understand and feel like it's not, yeah, go MAGA, go
Yes.
Trump, yeah, avenge 1983. There's a lot of collateral damage is the point, and people have to at least try to understand we are intertwined with everything. So if China has an issue with oil, we will feel it because we get everything from there, as people know. And
Not just that. I think this will push China to do what they've been wanting to do for a long time. The threat to Taiwan is real, brother. It is real.
Mhm.
If China can move in and hit Taiwan, because we can't be stretched thin, bro. If they
Yeah.
can move in and hit Taiwan, I would do it because now this idiot is talking about going after Cuba, right?
After Cuba, yeah.
So if they can get that, we're talking about the world leader in semiconduction, bro. The number one generator of semiconductors is Taiwan.
That's the ingredients for like a World War III. That's what
Yes,
happened.
absolutely.
World War III. And it's like we've been saying World War III for years. It's been like a cliche word that we're so used to saying it's like not real.
Yeah.
But that's how you get to a World War III, because to your point, there's all these, I wouldn't call them ancillary things, but there's all these collateral damages and other conflicts that can happen. And you're right. I think
it's,
man.
Ancillaryism. It's the ancillary things you're talking about meeting this convergence and this alignment, right? And so when you have that and you have a mixture of other things going on that are just piling on everything that's ancillary, you have ancillary. You have this. It's this weird bomb that's being built that is getting ready to explode. And at the end of the day, if history's taught us anything, nobody wins in a war.
Right.
No, we don't.
Right.
Dude, in Vietnam, we got our behinds handed to us.
Yeah.
We weren't really for guerrilla warfare. You can't beat an enemy who could come out of the ground.
Yeah.
You do a ground war. You don't know how many tunnels they have in Iran. You don't.
Man.
That's what I'm saying. You cannot defeat an enemy this strong and this great, who we've honestly just made an enemy. Because I look at things like, hey, America, it's easy to judge the world. We're not perfect over here. We still allow Klan members to run through towns and chant and do whatever they want to do and carry tiki torches and all this other stuff. Like, we got our own problems here. And what's clear is that the only folks who gonna make money here is the billionaires, right?
Well,
and
you know the point you just made. And so this is not a moral thing. We're not over there for the Iranian people. This is not about the Iranian people at all. It has nothing to do with the Iranian people. So their internal issues are real, but we are not there for that, right? And I think that so what are we there for? I don't know. Are we there because there was an imminent threat? I don't think there was an imminent threat either, right? Are we there because we're there mainly because of Israel, right? That's at the end of the day, it is what it is.
it's what it is.
But I'm not here to so the Israel conversation is another conversation.
Yeah, I don't even want to get into that stuff tonight.
I don't get into that, and I'll tell you why I don't get into that for a couple of reasons. Most people don't like talking about Israel for many reasons, because you'd be demonetized and all kind of crazy
Yeah,
stuff
the
happens. Be
Anti-Defamation
shut
League is
down.
real, bro. Them cats got power, dog.
They got a lot of power, but I can differentiate Jewish people
Yeah,
from the country of Israel, and the reason why I don't deal with that conversation a lot of times is because one, it's not my fight,
yeah,
and to your point, what you said earlier, nobody's coming to save anybody over here. If you're talking about black people, no one's coming to figure out our problems or oppression. So that's not my fight. They have a particular issue in the Middle East. Many people have their point of view. I've studied a lot of the history of it, but it ain't my fight.
right.
So my only thing I can say from my purview as an American is that we got to say to ourselves as Americans, what is our business? What's in the best interest of our country? That's where Americans have to look. And I think Americans, you said this earlier, and I've said this earlier on another video, that
hmm
the administration is doing so many things so fast, people's heads are spinning. They don't know the forest from the trees. We don't know what's good for America, what's not good for America.
Yeah,
And also we want to look at, also we have the not clan, but cultish left and right, Republican Democrat thing going on where we can't even really think.
yeah,
So I think that this particular war, it shouldn't even be looked through a Democrat Republican thing. It shouldn't even be looked at that, because it don't matter. The repercussions that we gonna face here, it don't matter if you red or blue, baby. What you gotta pay and what's gonna happen in your life here,
yeah.
it ain't gonna matter.
Man, look, I think the biggest thing disturbing me right now is when I see Christians post up, President Trump is doing the right thing and he's on the right side of history. And when I ask what is the right thing and what is on the right side of history, I don't get a response to that question, because people are making this look like it's some kind of Armageddon. This is first of all, Jews they don't even feel the same way about Christians. This particular set of Jews I'm talking about. But at the end of the day, like what is, don't make this a religious thing. Don't make this a revelation thing. This is God aligning the end of the return of the Messiah, because baby, we didn't seen this in World War One. We didn't seen it in World War II. So it's not like it's anything new, but let's not make this some self-righteous, sanctimonious, oh,
Please.
Jesus is about to return, get your house in order. And I'm not saying those things may not be relevant when you talk about the war between the eagle and the lion right now. But what I'm
Right.
saying is, let's not paint this picture, because most people don't even have an understanding that how maps were designed in the biblical era are not the way they're designed now. I talked to
Bruh.
the guy when I was in Ghana, bro. One of the elders talked to me. He dropped some knowledge that he said we've carried this through generations. We know who we are and who
We
we
know.
belong to. So I'm like, well, tell me about this. And he's like, you got to come back for another visit for this conversation, because this is something you have to be able to sit down, listen, and study for years. These are things that have been passed down through my ancestry. And I was just like, the dude was running so much game, bro. And so you can't even understand the way maps are curved now.
What's so interesting is that people act like history hasn't happened before. That's what's blowing my mind, right? And this is not about, being anti-Trump or anti-America or pro-Iran. This is really about what makes sense for this country. And it's so weird because I think the repercussions of war, America has forgot. I think a lot of Americans have forgotten what it's like, what's going to happen, because I think we're very spoiled in America. I think we're very spoiled
Highly spoiled.
and disconnected from real struggle. What we think is struggle is really not struggle in comparison to other places.
Yeah.
So as soon as things start affecting everyday Americans' lives, they're going to turn on Trump. I think this is the biggest mistake of Donald Trump's presidency, by far. I think even if people who don't like him and hate him. But I'm talking about for people who moderately like him, to people who like him, to hardcore MAGA. They're in denial right now. This is the biggest mistake that he's made in his presidency 1 year in, because I don't remember a time. George Bush's biggest mistake, in my opinion, had he just went to Afghanistan
Yep.
and they didn't lie about Iraq,
Yep.
I think his presidential, his legacy would have been different.
Yeah,
Iraq ruined his legacy.
absolutely. It should have.
People don't realize when we went in and we killed Saddam Hussein a couple months later, he's talking about mission accomplished, and then we're there for 6 to 7, 8, 9 more years, and not hundreds of thousands, but I forgot how many people died in Iraq. But a lot of U.S. citizens died. A lot of U.S. soldiers died in
We
Iraq,
lost a lot of U.S. soldiers. We lost a lot of National Guard members who were called.
and were injured too.
Bro, that was over 100,000. Easy. Over 100,000 injuries. Easy.
So, when you have that, people have to remember that that's what messed up George Bush's legacy.
Yes.
Was Iraq war. It wasn't really Afghanistan in my humble opinion.
It wasn't. No, not at all.
It was Iraq because they lied.
I said earlier, right? I was like, okay, Afghanistan, I'll give that to you. Although I don't know why, especially when the attackers were from Saudi Arabia, but that's part of the cover up. That's part of the cover up, bro. Right?
Yeah.
Like this is when something we often don't talk about is the Oklahoma City bombing. That rabbit hole was so deep. Now, why do you have people who stay on death row for 30, 40 years? Timothy McVeigh was executed just like that.
Oh, yeah.
That's a reason for that, bro.
Listen, not 9/11 is one of those things that, you know what it is? It's like, if you ever watched the movie JFK, when Joe Pesci's in the movie, right? And I remember Kevin Costner. Kevin Costner is the guy. He plays the guy who's like a lawyer who's trying to dig up what happened with JFK. And he asked Joe Pesci at one point. He says, who killed JFK? And Joe Pesci's character is somebody who's mixed up in that conspiracy or whatever. And Joe Pesci's like, would you stop asking me that? Stop asking me who killed JFK. Even the people who killed JFK don't know who killed JFK. That's what this is. You know what I'm saying? Like, even the people who pulled the trigger don't know who pulled the trigger. Right. So, like, that's really what that is when you talk about 9/11. But we do know it happened, right? We'll never prove who did it, at least as of right now. We don't know who did it and why, but there's plenty of information for people to look out there and take a look. But what's the result? Now, the result is you go to Iraq, you lie about Iraq, and now we all have the benefit to sit back, 20 odd years later and say, you know what? Okay, Colin Powell lied. Condoleezza Rice lied. Yeah. Dick Cheney, George Bush, Rumsfeld, they all lied. They all knew, right? So now we in present day. Now, what people have to realize is that with the Iran war, whatever this is going to be, you may not see the truth right now, but eventually people have to ask themselves, after all the damage that's coming, they'll have to ask themselves, well, Donald Trump said there was an imminent threat. What threat? Why were we over there? And we can look back later and say, yo, he lied, and all these people died, and this is, but this is what happens. This is the repeat of history that people just are not aware of right now. And I'm surprised as Americans we're so removed from it.
Well, we're removed from it because we're uneducated. We're not teaching history. We're teaching propaganda. We're teaching how to be a patriot. Man, I remember being in school singing the Pledge of Allegiance with paint falling off the wall and roaches in my school. But we singing the Pledge of Allegiance in the morning, but we got roaches in our cafeteria, bro. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about down on 39th Street, Mayo School, Doolittle East and Doolittle West. Man, it's like these horrific conditions, but as long as we holding up that red, white, and blue, we are true-blooded Americans, man. And I think that's the disillusion. I think you said it best. People don't have common sense anymore, man. This dude is he has such a cult following. It's to a point of demonic idol worship. When this guy can do no wrong, and it's really hurtful, the level of deception that, people like you can say, hey, I voted for this dude. I gave him a chance. It's a wrap. The opposite of you exist. Yep, I still stand with Donald Trump, hands down, and there's nothing he can do wrong. This is just a Democratic ploy, and it's all Obama's fault. But people still talking to me about Obama. Obama.
I know it's
So where you can stand your ground and say, man, I did have some hopes in this dude that he was going to do the right thing. We have not seen anything that he has done, at least in my opinion, that has been America first. 40 billion in Argentina. What's the trade-off? Going into Venezuela and kidnapping their president, whether you liked him there or not, whether he was a bad dude or not. What's the trade-off? What country can come in here and kidnap our president and we like, hey, unless y'all want to nuke, y'all better bring our president back here. You got about 2 hours to get him back on American soil.
right.
We're gonna
Right.
show you. We're gonna show you how to rock the world, baby.
right.
That's the ground that we would stand on. There are
Yeah.
people who consider this dude a tyrant. Can any other country come over here and charge him with war crimes? Can you come charge Obama with war crimes? Can you come charge George Bush with war crimes? Yeah, try it, do it, and you want to wake the eagle up? You're gonna wake the beast up doing that, right? So these are things that we cannot do, that no other country could do to us, but we can again force our will. I was watching a video earlier just talking about how Haiti's in the condition that it's in. That's America's fault.
Yeah.
From the early 1900s, bro, between 1915, 1920, 15, dude, we took all of their gold, took over their banks, rewrote their laws. Like, these are things that we have done to push colonial influence across the world. Yeah. And when we start getting into these golden corridors, when we start getting into these straits, when we start getting into the Caspian Sea, the next great thing then to do after that, once you've seized all of these ports, once you've been given control of all of these transportation routes, we sank an Iranian ship that was unarmed, right, that was doing naval trainings.
Well, you know what, Tony, on that note, that's a good point, because I wanted to ask you about this. So again, we're doing a lot of parallels to Iraq. And one of the things that I think people also have to think about is that war creates new terrorism. So there was no ISIS in Iraq. There didn't exist in Iraq. ISIS was created during the Iraq War. So, look, whether you agree or not with Hamas and Israel and what happened on October 7th and all that, again, it's not my fight. I don't have a dog in that fight. I'm a black person in America. But from what I understand, the people that went in to Israel on October 7th were young. They're in their early 20s. A lot of these terrorists are young. Even the 9/11 hijackers, they were all young. The oldest one was Muhammad Atta. I think Muhammad Atta was like 30. But the rest of those guys were all 22, 23. Even the other pilots were young. They were mid-20s, which is relatively young. Think about a mid-20-year-old right now. So my point is that what happens in war, the problem that I have with war in my lifetime that I've seen is that you just create new anger. So bombing whoever those kids were in the Iranian school that were killed, whoever those kids are, whoever their brothers are, if they have siblings who are 10, what happens in 15 years when they're 25? Who will they come to be? When you lose family members, that collateral damage or casualties of war, like you said on that post earlier, that guy was saying on your post,
my brother,
just minimalizing it to just that.
Yes.
What that casualty of war becomes later, a lot of times, is a terrorist, somebody who's angry, somebody who, you know what I'm saying? So that's the part of it I think people have to take a step back and think about, is that
absolutely
you create new trauma.
Absolutely. Dude, did you see the movie The Kingdom?
Absolutely, I saw it. Yeah.
You remember to your point you just said, you remember the end of The Kingdom?
Yeah.
When you had the American talking, and then you had the I forget where they were, but you had the Middle Eastern kid talking.
They were in Saudi Arabia.
And he said, what did he say? He said, kill every last one of them.
Yep.
It's what you just said. It's the enemy that you create when you think you are actually doing something. This is why the gang problem is super out. Nobody's even running gangs in Chicago anymore, bro.
Right.
These cats doing whatever whenever they want to, but that's the point.
You're inside my head.
Man, bro, I
was about to say that, yeah.
It's really no difference. This is my thing. Man, remember Chicago almost had the Olympics?
Mm-hmm.
My pastor at the time, he asked, I can't think of who the police superintendent was. He asked him, well, if you're trying to build an Olympic village in Washington Park, what are you going to do about the crimes and the gangs in that area? He said, we're going to lock it down. So for the Olympics, not for the citizens of Chicago who can't afford to live elsewhere and are living in these areas, or some people who can't afford to live in these to move out of these areas, but stay to be an example, right? So you can clean up an area for the Olympics, but you can't do that for the average citizen of Chicago. And this is my entire issue with taxes in Chicago that are being raised. And it's been with every mayor, from Daley to Rahm to Lightfoot to Brandon. How are we continuing to increase prices when safety should be an uttermost part of anything that you raise in taxes for? Has to have an element of safety to it. Because if kids can't walk to school, if kids can't walk home, if kids can't ride the Chicago public transportation, the CTA, Chicago Transit Authority, if kids can't get on a bus and be safe, what's the purpose? Where is all this tax money going if it's not taking care of the people who you want to stay and live in this city and help build it? Where's the taxpayer money going, bro? Like somebody, please holler at me after all these years. Where is the money going? Because you're asking families. We're in the middle of a war right now. They ain't got to call. They can call it a conflict, whatever they want. We're in the middle of a war.
Mm-hmm.
Prices are not going down.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, I took my godbabies to breakfast today, bro. The average meal started at $17.95.
Oh yeah.
I had no cheese. That cheese, a slice of cheese was not even a slice, probably a sprinkle, $2.35 extra. So when you have all of this going up, you got inflation going up. Well, you got inflation going up, gas going up, eggs going up, beef going up, but you got no pay increases. No salary jumps.
Mm-hmm.
People being laid off. So prices are going up, but the scale of the cost of living is going up.
Absolutely.
But there's no increases to go with that match. So what's the expectation for? See, this is why I'm saying, like, MAGA got to wake up. They got to have a Marjorie Taylor Greene moment where they snap out of whatever psychosis or whatever hypnosis they were under and say, this is not for the benefit of the American people. What business do we have going after Iran saying, oh, well, we're going to strike them first before they strike us? Strike who? Strike when? Strike where? What's the plan? You've already said out of your mouth that we're not trying to make them a democracy. Well, I hope not, because you're trying to stop America from being a democracy.
Well, you know what? But that's a great point about Marjorie Taylor Greene. All she did was that. Well, I don't know what her motives were, but she did snap out of it. She did snap out of it. But I think whatever her motives was, she did what was normal. You should have the room to agree and disagree within the same party. Like that in and of itself blows my mind. Democrats hopefully are learning too, but I think that.
Forgive my smirk.
Parties,
my bad, y'all.
The only way you could have better government is to be able to actually agree and disagree on ideas. Because my thing with Donald Trump was that, in theory, some of the things he talked about made sense, but it's all about how you do them and whether you're going to actually do them, period. And in that mode, it's like, okay, we could criticize it. We could say, okay, I like it or I don't like it. I like how he's going about something, or I don't like how he's going about something. Or I'm mad that he's doing something he said he wasn't going to do. I just don't think that's I don't think it's controversial. I think it's very normal if you're thinking normally and you're not possessed in cult like thinking. And
But that's my
I'm
challenge
more
for you, though, bro.
surprised.
That's my challenge for you, though, bro. Because seeing
Hmm.
how this dude turned his back on Mike Pence, right? Seeing how this dude turned his back on Mike Pence. I don't know how anybody could expect hope out of this dude. And I already told you, I looked into Kamala Harris. I know people in California who were not feeling Kamala Harris at all. I'm not in California. I don't know what she did. I heard she didn't do some black men right. I heard she didn't do a whole lot of people right. But,
Sure.
I don't know. But I'm not questioning that woman's intelligence and what she's done. They accused
Right.
her of being a slut and sleeping around and all. Everything heinous you could think about, that's all people focused on. I'm talking about
Yeah.
black people. I ain't even talking about white folks. I'm talking about black people.
Right.
Right? It was just this attack. But knowing how this dude, if you disagree with this guy, he's not a person. His ego is so big and it's so wide. He's not a person that is really going to give you anything tangible or substantive that's going to let you know that he can deal with people in a rational manner. It's not a part of his character. I've never seen it be a part of his character. Right? It's
That's
just
fair.
like even going against Hillary Clinton. That dude brought all them women in there that Bill Clinton slept with. Like, that showed me who he was right then. But it's also, as much as he was talking about Hillary and the BlackBerry cover up, we ain't gonna get into that right now. But as much as we were, but he was like, we're gonna lock her up. He ran his campaign on locking her up. And I remember at a rally, I'm watching him, and they're like, lock her up, lock her up. And he was like, nah, we're not gonna do that. And they were like, you see people in the background like, but we voted for you because we were hoping you were gonna lock her
Well,
up.
that's because they fall for the. Now, here's the thing. Again, I can only speak for myself.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really, I don't, that stuff to me, that's like playtime.
Mhm.
Like, a lot of the stuff that he does like that is just, to me, it doesn't really resonate with me at all.
Reality
Although
TV.
you know what I'm saying? I just think it's like reality TV. It's just something to, spark people up and doing stupid little chants like that. But that's all fun and games, but there's some real shit that's about to happen now. there's some real stuff that's about to happen now.
Yeah.
So wearing the hat, being MAGA, and talking to I'll give you this too. Other thing is that what got on my nerves about it, and I had a lot of debates, not a lot of debates. I had some debates with some friends of mine. One particular friend of mine, we had a lot of debates when Trump first got in office, and he thought that this platform, he was like, oh, I feel like I know what you gonna do. You super conservative. Now I said, bro, no, I just voted for him because I gave him a chance based on the things he campaigned on, right? And I get it. Everything you said, a lot of people said prior to Donald Trump getting in office. And I said, okay, well, I just wasn't convinced by Kamala Harris. It's that simple. But
Yeah, well,
but I can easily say with no problem that, okay, based on what I'm seeing now, and if it gets worse, I can say, hey, you know what? Maybe I should have voted the other way. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think we've gotten to the point now, people are so scared to say that. I'm not scared to say that, because when I voted for him, it wasn't me putting a branded MAGA thing into my skin. I just voted for a candidate. And I think we got to get back to that right now. If that candidate doesn't do what they say they were going to do, I can say, hey, man, I made a mistake. I don't have a problem with that. But I think that that's what it's really has to become about. You know what I'm saying? Because,
yes,
even with Chicago Flips Red, I've had them on the show a few times, and a lot of what they're talking about, I get where they're coming from, in particular to the issues in Chicago.
absolutely.
But no particular Donald Trump in particular isn't the solution. So it's about whatever policies you want to go for in your immediate town, your immediate city that you feel like should be pushed. I get it. Go for it if that's what you want to do. But you have to pick candidates who align with policies. Donald Trump, to your point, I think that he's showing a side of what people have predicted of him. And I think that the war thing is bigger than everything because a lot of the other issues don't matter. What is putting America first? What does that mean? What are
Yeah.
the results of that, rather? Not
Yeah.
the words, but what's the results?
Yeah, and you can't say I guess what he gave the all the veterans got 1776 in their bank accounts, but he took that money from something else that was supposed to be used for the military.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like he just diverted funds, and people were so excited about it. Oh, great! And I get it. You can do something for your family with that money and all of that.
Wait a minute. You saying they gave all the veterans
All the
1770?
veterans got $1,776.
What was this?
This was maybe October.
Okay.
Punch it up real quick. But it was big. It was a military brother I follow. He's a chaplain, but I love him.
Okay.
And he's a chaplain. I love the dude. And he was just like, yeah, this is what we got. And I know people are not happy about it, but hey, in the military, we're happy because we could use the money. And it was just like, but it's like smoking. It's like things like that really have no construct, right? It's like, I don't know how much money people were making during the pandemic. I know people who took fraudulent loans out, unjustified, and I tell them, you better stay overseas. Wherever you planted overseas, don't come back because you can believe, baby. Let Trump owe the IRS something. Can't none of us shut him down, but let the IRS find out that dude move some money somewhere. The IRS will get you.
They'll get you eventually.
The police couldn't get Capone. The IRS was like, we got him now.
They may not get you today. They may not get you tomorrow.
Yeah,
but they're going to get you.
When
eventually.
you walk down that aisle, they're going to be like, is there anybody here who...
But you least expected.
I say that to say, and I respect you in that regard because I had to deal with the same heat when I voted for George Bush, bro. I had to deal with the exact same heat. I said, yeah, dude, I love the military when I was in. I would have stayed in the military. The only reason I exited the military and the reserves was because of Bush. I was like, I cannot serve under this administration anymore. I'm out. I put my leave papers in. I said, I will not be back, and I'm going to roll right into my exit. They was like, dude, but you only had like 50. Oh, yeah, I left. Because I can't serve under an administration that I don't agree with.
Now, what point did that hit you?
When we went into Iraq,
Immediately.
Absolutely. I was on active duty still when we went into Iraq. I think we hit Iraq October. When did we go into Iraq? It had to be.
I believe it was October 2003.
Yeah, that's
no. Excuse me. It may have been October 2002 is when they were making the case. We hit them March 2003, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, March 2003.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew then I was on active duty. But when I got called up January of 2002, I got called up October. I was like, y'all know we about to go into Iraq. And people on the base was like, oh, here go Briscoe. He's para. I'm like, no, dude. I'm like, I know this dude. I'm like, I voted for this dude. And I'm starting to see opposite little signs of why I voted for this dude. And not so much because of Bush, because of Dick Cheney. I don't even think Bush was calling shots at that point, bro.
No,
I think it was my man Rums, and I think it was Dick Cheney.
Yeah, Rums and Cheney ran that.
Yeah, that dude was probably the most aggressive VP that we've had in years. I mean, boots to the ground was that dude,
period.
Bruh. Dick Cheney wasn't no punk, bro.
No, Dick Cheney was not a punk. Dick Cheney had some cold eyes about him.
Yes,
and
yes.
He was about going at it and getting
strategic and tactical,
and
how he was able to get Halliburton in there. I'm like, come on, bro. This is the exact same thing that we're seeing now, where you've got somebody in power who's using all of this influence to make the Trump family will not have financial problems until Jesus comes. These cats will be so set up, bro, for the rest of their lives. They will be untouched. They will be unscathed. And when you look at just the setup, but I could own voting for Bush. And don't get me wrong, I still like. I always thought George Bush had a really, really genuine heart. But I had to eat Katrina and I had to eat Iraq, bro. And I defended him on Katrina. I did. Because I know he got a lot of flack. I remember the song came out about him that was pretty dope too.
Yeah.
But it was like, I watched the meeting. I watched the White House session with him. and he asked the dude at FEMA, do you have everything that you need to make sure that these folks are good? Now, if I'm your boss and you tell me yes, why would I not take your word for that?
Well, that's a great point. And see, that's those are the nuances of thinking.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yes.
that's what we got to get back to, because you could criticize him, but you're not unequivocally saying everything that man has done is wrong either, right? So that's what I said too. I didn't blame him all the way for Katrina, particularly as I learned more things after Hurricane Katrina, in the years after. But it was Iraq basically because they lied. That was it. That was it. And it wasn't, put it like this, T. It wasn't even with Iraq for me. It wasn't even that they believed what they were saying and they got it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That could have been possible too. And that, I think people would have gave him George Bush a pass. It was because they knowingly lied, and not George Bush personally, but his administration. They knowingly lied. If they had got this faulty intel and got it wrong, cool. But we know we all have Monday morning quarterback and the hindsight of 2020 of history to know that they lied. But Donald Trump is in the same boat with Iran because they haven't sold it. The narratives are changing every day, and
every day the narratives are changing. Bro, what are we doing, bro?
Fam,
what are you? What? I can't even talk, man.
Every Americans are wondering. The Americans who are not cultish thinking, they're wondering how far is this going to go? Now the ground. Now here's the thing: they're saying, well, the ground troop thing isn't going to happen. We're just going to keep bombing. We're going to obliterate them, blah, 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 blah. But the whole issue is that to obliterate this country does what I was saying earlier. It's going to create more hatred towards the United States. As much as you think Iranians are cheering and all that, again, I'm not speaking for Iranians, but as much as people are happy, whoever's happy about that, I want to call it administration, but that leadership being gone, they still don't want their country obliterated, though. You know what I'm saying? So even if let's say I'm in the U.S. and I don't like my government, and I'm happy that they were toppled, I still don't want my whole neighborhood almost destroyed. Because that doesn't help me. So that in and of itself, meaning that they have to have a plan. You can't take out leadership unless you're going to be there to help with new leadership. And that takes a long time. It takes years. And that's basically what happened with Libya. Libya didn't recover after Muammar Gaddafi.
Of course it did.
And Iraq obviously didn't. So
you have to look at, man, every leader who is in place, whether they're there against the people's will or not, they're there for a reason.
Absolutely.
And they were doing some things there. You may not have liked to agree. I've never agreed with every politician ever. I give Obama a pass, and I was pretty hard on President Obama, but I give him a pass because I still know the opposition that brother was up against, just being a black, from the world leaders who disrespected that dude. I bet they looking at him like, man, we had the golden apple and we just threw that dude into the trash because he was a color. And don't get me started on the creation of the word black. I don't get into all that stuff. You probably know more about that than I do. But what I'm saying is, man, I think we went into this situation with blinders on, and everybody is so pro. And I want you to think about the things that we're doing as a nation. We just sank an Iranian ship that was allegedly unarmed, and they were there for training exercises, what they were doing, and they had to send out a distress call for help. And they were pulling dead bodies out of the water and off of that ship. And when you have the Secretary of Defense, I'm not calling it the Department of War, when you got the Secretary of Defense talking about this in such a braggadocious way, like, when do we brag about ending human life, man? When do we champion about ending human life? This is the danger with these folks. This is the danger with these highly patriotic evangelicals who have mixed conservatism up with righteousness. I I gotta find the podcast my wife was talking about. She watched, but she said they were talking about it, analyzing how these Christians love war. This one dude said, "Hey, do we have to use love in these times? Isn't love for certain times? Don't we have to deal with war right now?" This is a question. This is a question out of a Christian's mouth. Do we have to? The whole tenets of Christianity is built off love, bro. What are you saying? Is that an off switch? Are we dealing with binary code of zeros and ones, and we turn it on and off whenever we feel like it? But this is the state of humanity, man. It's the state of society, and we got so much stuff to deal with here in Chicago, in my city, in LA, in New York, in New Jersey, in like every state has something that they're dealing with. You know, Idaho just voted to repeal Juneteenth as a holiday and reinstate Columbus Day. Bro, I don't care. We got bigger fish to fry than a day called Juneteenth, bro. I expect white people in Idaho to be white people in Idaho, poor and blind like they are right now when they're just supporting this blind administration. I don't care about that small stuff. Nope. The racists put up a video of Michelle and Barack Obama in ape suits. Baby, we've been called monkey for centuries. You got to come and be with something harder than that. I ain't saying it's right and it's racist as crap, but you got to come and be with something harder than that. We got so many problems in this country, and I don't see, and no one has been able to tell me anything that this dude has done that has been for America. And I'm not saying that the immigration, one of the dumbest things I think, and I know my sister's on this platform, my sister Juliana Stratton, who's running for senator here. I know she's on the, well, allegedly she said abolish ICE. I'm not on the abolish ICE bandwagon. I think the slogan is horrible. And just like Barack Obama, who got flack because he said defund the police, he said it's just not smart. Oh man, black folks came at Obama like, oh, you one of them. And no, it was a dumb slogan.
It's a dumb slogan.
Can we break down? No, we don't want to abolish ICE. What we want to do is what the whistleblower said do. Bring back the rules where they had to teach the Constitution. Bring back the other 237 instructional hours back into the training that this Trump administration has taken out of the training. We want ICE to work for all Americans, and we want them to work towards people who are illegal immigrants who are here, to handle them the right way with human dignity and not the way ICE has been doing business. That's what we mean.
That's very
defunding the police. It was. I said it was a slogan. People clapped at me on Facebook. I'm like, no, saying defund the police is dumb.
Well, that's how we got so everybody is so far left and so far right, and that's exactly that's the biggest problem, is that there's no common sense. And I wouldn't say common sense. Let me just say being reasonable. Makes sense, because you can't defund the police and abolish ICE, and then at the same time you can't just throw everybody out. And we need comprehensive reform when it comes to immigration. You know what I'm saying? And
that's humane.
We're like you said, we're at a point now. Again, I think that unfortunately the wake up call will come to America, in the sense that war always brings collateral damage. There's horrific collateral damage elsewhere, but as far as the collateral damage here, I think that's what's going to wake us up. The collateral damage of the cost and the collateral damage of everything you just said in relation to, let's keep it real. At the end of the day, the Trump administration, as of right now, even if you think thus far, before the Iran invasion, even if you think that it's been America first, and you feel personally that there's been some things that have helped America, all those things will be superseded. I'm not going to say trumped. All those things will be superseded by war. They'll all be, even if you feel like prices have gone down, they will go back up because of war. There's never a time in war where we're at war where these things, these everyday things for Americans get better. It just don't work like that.
Bro, I'm gonna tell you, man.
So, I'm gonna let you drop the mic on this one.
This dude who was doing the healthcare, what's his name? Kennedy.
RFK, yeah.
We're just in such a bad place as a country in some regard. I'll bypass on talking about the wormhead for a minute, and I really want to deal with, man. I think I was talking to a young brother on Clubhouse this week, and he said, Briscoe, the only thing I'm thinking about now is how to make money from this war. I'm already checking out my defense stocks. I'm gonna beef them up a little bit. And that's what I hear a lot of people doing, man. And I'm not a financially savvy guy, right? So it's like when it comes to investments and things, man. But I'm like, man, is that what we are? This is our takeaway. I listen to Dr. Boyce Watkins a lot, and he went live tonight to talk about investing during wars, right? And I'm not saying we shouldn't be on our game. I think we should, but I'm like, man, is that the is that the direction? But then even people talking about it, I was like, there's a book called War is a Racket. I got it. I'm gonna have to read it, bro. I've had it for a while, but it's like this is the guys talking about in this book that war is a racket, and at the end of a war, follow the money trail before the war kicks off. See what defense stocks went up. Who's the guy who does TMZ? What's his name? Harvey something.
Harvey Levitt, something was saying.
So apparently he's got a podcast. I didn't know that. Yeah, he's got a podcast.
I didn't know that either.
So he's got a partner he podcasts with, right? And I'm listening to these dudes. And so Harvey's like at him because he's like, dude, you're in a freaking restaurant for a podcast. Could you not find someplace more convenient to go, more quiet to go? And he was like, I was gonna go home. He said, but you're not gonna believe what I just heard in this restaurant. He's in a restaurant. I don't know where this guy was. He's in a restaurant where apparently he's listening to a conversation that is talking about getting ready to bomb Iran. So he's like, dude, he's like, no, I need to stick around and hear this conversation. They were in a public place. These military political guys in a public place talking about getting ready to bomb Iran. In a public restaurant, having a conversation about military strategy. And this is how you know the whole game is rigged. Pete Hetchworth should have been out of office as soon as the signal chain leaked. The dude should have been fired on the spot. There's no way you keep this dude in place with incompetence like that. There's no way you have this person running DHS and Homeland Security and she gets her purse stolen while she's got security right there. These people are freaking incompetent. And you've got people in your administration who are holding war conversations in a signal chat, inviting a reporter in of all people. And you got people having war-driven conversations in a public restaurant where somebody can sit there and listen. So follow the money trail. Where did Israelis put their money? Where did people in the stock market put their money? Because at the end of the day, KRS once said it best. We're all in the same game. It's that World Bank game that got struck with two planes.
I'm going to let you drop the mic on that one, bro.